Imagine waking up at 3 a.m., soaking wet, convinced that you've been talking to ancient gods for the last 6 hours. You didn't take any traditional drug. You ate a fish. Humans have been getting absolutely destroyed by some of the strangest substances imaginable. And I mean things that make cocaine look harmless. Today we're going into 8 substances that should not work, but somehow do. Some are sacred, some are accidents. One of them shouldn't exist at all. Yeah, stay with me. Let's start with a toad. Not just any toad, this toad. Meet the Sonoran Desert Toad, also known as Bufo Alvarius. On the surface, it looks like every other ugly, slimy amphibian you've ever tried to avoid at a pond. But behind those dead, bulging eyes hides one of the most chemically extreme substances on planet Earth. 5-MeO-DMT. Here's what actually happens the moment it hits your system. You take one breath and within 30 seconds, that's it. The world doesn't just fade, it snaps. Your identity, gone. Your body, gone. There's no you left to hold on to anything. People who've tried it say it's like dying and then coming back 15 minutes later. Now here's the kicker. Some people emerge from this and describe it as the most profound, healing, spiritual experience of their entire lives. Others come out looking like they just got tackled by God, need someone to talk them down for an hour, and seriously reconsider their life choices. There's also the minor issue of cardiovascular stress, as in, your heart does not enjoy this at all. This isn't something you casually try. You don't try this, you survive it. Okay, but because somehow, this still isn't the worst thing an animal can do to you. Deep in the Amazon, there's a bright green tree frog called Philomedusa bicolor. Indigenous tribes have been using its secretions for centuries in a practice called cambo, and I want to be very clear about something before we go further. This isn't high. This is not fun either. People willingly do this to themselves, and this is where it really gets uncomfortable. They burn their skin, then they rub the toxins straight into the wounds, and then your body reacts. Your face heats up, your heart starts racing, then your stomach flips. And it doesn't stop. You're sweating, maybe even shaking. You are absolutely not enjoying yourself in any conventional sense of the word. And yet practitioners of Kambo believe this is precisely the point. The purge, according to traditional belief, is the body expelling illness, bad energy, weakness. Athletes have reportedly used it as a performance enhancer. Some claim profound mental clarity after. And weirdly, there is real science behind it. Dermorphin and its relatives are being studied for potential medical applications, including pain management and cancer research. But let's be honest about the risks. Documented deaths have occurred. Heart complications are real. This is not something to treat casually, and so why do people do it? Because it is apparently one of the most viscerally alive you will ever feel. Even if alive briefly feels indistinguishable from destroyed. All right, frogs and toads done. Now this is where things stop being strange and start being dangerous. The next one on this list isn't ancient or exotic. It's used right now, today, as a weapon to make you forget you ever had free will. There are drugs that alter your mind. Then there's scopolamine, which steals it. Scopolamine is derived from plants in the Brugmansia and Datura families. Those beautiful trumpet-shaped flowers you might see hanging in someone's garden. Pretty. Deadly, utterly immoral. Here's what it does to you. It blocks acetylcholine receptors in your brain. Basically, it cuts the communication between your rational mind and your actions. You're awake. You can move, you can talk. You just don't decide anything anymore. And this isn't exaggerated. That's documented case reports from Colombia, where scopolamine has been used in targeted criminal attacks, slipped into drinks, blown into faces leaving victims cooperative, and completely amnesiac. Now, scopolamine also has legitimate medical uses. In tiny doses, it's medicine. In higher doses, it's something else entirely. But in its raw form, extracted from Brugmansia, delirium, confusion, total loss of autonomy, potential for severe, lasting cognitive damage. The ancient use cases are even darker. Some historical accounts suggest it was used in rituals meant to induce prophetic states, essentially breaking the mind open just enough to see visions. What they were actually seeing was their own brain in full neurological crisis. Scopolamine is the one on this list that requires no dramatic ritual, no exotic toad, no ancestral tradition, just proximity to the wrong person. And somehow, it gets worse that it was sold as a love potion for centuries. Spoiler, it's not a love potion, it's poison. And it is extremely unpleasant in ways no one warned ancient Romans about. Humans have tried a lot of things in the name of attraction. Enter Spanish fly, or more accurately, cantharidin, a blistering toxin produced by beetles like Lita vesicatoria. For centuries, across cultures from ancient Rome to 18th century France, this iridescent green beetle was dried, powdered, and slipped into drinks with romantic intentions. The problem is, cantharidin doesn't produce desire. It creates damage. On contact with tissue, it causes intense irritation and swelling. When ingested, it attacks the urinary tract. This causes inflammation that was historically mistaken for, let's say, arousal. It was not arousal. It was your body's tissues being eaten by a beetle compound. You'd feel a burning sensation, urgency, intense discomfort, and somewhere along the historical chain of whispers, someone decided this meant it was working as intended. It was not. Cantharidin causes organ damage, hemorrhage, and, in sufficient doses, death. Cardinal Richelieu reportedly consumed it. The Marquis de Sade was implicated in cases involving it. Entire dark chapters of history were written around this deeply misunderstood beetle. There is no high here. There is pain dressed up in the mythology of desire. Nature's most elaborate prank on human wishful thinking. This next one shouldn't even be on a list like this. The most extreme things ever documented as a substance of abuse. It was reported from conflict zones and extreme poverty. And it is exactly as grim as you're imagining. This one needs context. Jenkem, fermented human waste gases, was documented in the 1990s among extremely marginalized youth in Lusaka, Zambia. This happened amid devastating poverty, during a period with virtually no other options available. Some reports also surfaced from other regions in similar conditions of extreme deprivation. Here's what's actually happening. Inhaling the gases from fermented organic waste causes brief hypoxia. That's oxygen deprivation. It results in dizziness and disorientation. There is no true high in any pharmacological sense. It is the brain being briefly starved of oxygen. The risks are severe: toxic exposure, neurological damage, and all the attendant dangers of inhaling gases from decomposing biological matter. This one doesn't have humor. It gets context. It exists on this list because it is documented, real, and a testament to how desperate circumstances shape human behavior in ways that are important to understand, not mock. Let's reset for a second, because next up is something sitting in your spice cabinet right now. And yes, you can theoretically get high from it. The question is whether you'd want to. Absolutely not. Yes, the nutmeg thing is real. Myristica fragrans, the humble nutmeg, contains myristicin, a compound that can produce hallucinogenic effects when consumed in large enough quantities. Here's what that actually looks like. You take way too much. At first, nothing. Then it hits. Your perception warps. Time stretches and objects feel slightly off, like reality was re-rendered by someone who almost remembered what it looked like. You're not lucid. You're not in control. You're somewhere deeply uncomfortable in your own skull, and you'd very much like to leave, but it can't. And here's the fun part. It lasts up to 12 hours. Your heart is working harder than it should. You feel nauseous genuinely, miserably nauseous for most of it. Your mouth is dry. Your thoughts are slow and tangled. When it finally ends, you feel hollowed out and vaguely betrayed by the spice rack. This is not fun at all. This is what happens when a cooking ingredient is aggressively misused and nature punishes you for it. Prison inmates have reportedly used this out of desperation when nothing else was available. It is, in every measurable way, unpleasant. Nutmeg remains definitely the world's most accessible and least enjoyable psychedelic. Now, this one is genuinely terrifying. One with a toxin so powerful it has been used in documented accounts of creating real-life zombies. It's produced by bacteria that live inside certain pufferfish. These bacteria work symbiotically with the fish, and the toxin, it's brutally precise. It blocks sodium channels in your nerve cells, which stops electrical signals from firing. Your body shuts down, muscles stop, breathing stops, but your heart keeps going. Here is the truly terrifying part. Your consciousness doesn't go anywhere. And the worst part? You're still conscious. You can think, you just can't move. Accounts from Haiti and the ethnobotanical research of Wade Davis propose that TTX sourced from pufferfish was a central ingredient in the preparation of so-called zombie powder used in voodoo practice. The claimed effect? Inducing a death-like state in the target, burying them, then reviving them, leaving them in profound neurological shock and psychological trauma, compliant, and disoriented. The scientific community has debated the mechanism, the toxin concentrations, and the full accuracy of these accounts. But TTX's ability to produce conscious paralysis and temporary clinical death while the mind remains active is not in dispute. In Japan, fugu pufferfish is consumed as a delicacy. It requires licensed chefs trained for years specifically to prepare it without killing the customer. Even then, the occasional near-death incident makes the news. This is a toxin that has shaped cultural mythology, informed medical research on sodium channels, and represented one of nature's most precise and terrifying biological weapons. And some people eat it for the thrill of the mild tingling on their lips. And the last one doesn't even make sense. Because while everything we've covered today has a known mechanism, a known source, a reason it does what it does, our final entry is a fish that causes hallucinations for reasons scientists still don't fully understand. This looks like a normal fish. It's a common herbivorous Mediterranean fish. It grazes on seagrass. It is, by any objective measure, deeply unimpressive to look at, right up until you eat it. People have eaten this and then completely lost grip on reality. A word that exists specifically for this situation has been documented in medical literature going back centuries. Roman texts reference fish causing terrifying nightmares. Modern case reports describe diners experiencing vivid hallucinations, beginning within hours of a meal. Auditory distortions, visual phenomena, profound disorientation. In documented cases from the Mediterranean, people have described hearing screaming sounds, seeing animals where none existed, experiencing complete breaks with reality not for minutes, but for up to 2 days. And here's the problem. We don't entirely know why. Here's the leading hypothesis. Sarpa salpa eats certain algae and phytoplankton, especially at certain times of the year. Those compounds build up in the fish's body. We're talking about indole-based psychoactive substances. Substances structurally similar to DMT. The effect is unpredictable, inconsistent, and entirely dependent on what the fish happened to eat before it was caught. You could eat it 50 times and feel nothing. Then, on the 51st, without warning, your dinner turns into something you weren't remotely prepared for. There's no dose to control, no ritual, no preparation. Just a fish that ate the wrong algae on the wrong day, served to someone who had very different plans for their evening. Ancient Romans didn't call it poisoning, some called it divine. 8 substances, all discovered by accident. And they share one thing. They manipulate the human brain so extremely that everything human is lost.